Introducing the new Avenue layering engine for broadcast, live venues, and presentation. Multi-layering key and background transitions are controlled through an amazing, easy-to-use iPad interface. The program and look-ahead preview outputs make it perfect for branding, small master control, fly pack, and central casting.
Hi, I'm David Austerberry, Editor of Broadcast Engineering. I'm here at the IBC and I'm talking with Brad Gilmer, the Executive Director of the AMWA. Morning, Brad.
Good morning, David.
So, we're here to talk about FIMS. There's been a lot of buzz about FIMS over the last month, so can you briefly explain to us what FIMS is?
Sure. I think the first thing would be to explain what FIMS stands for, since we start right off at the beginning with an acronym. So FIMS stands for the Framework for Interoperable Media Services. And the concept behind FIMS is that as we face ever-increasing demands to reconfigure our facilities in order to get our content wherever it needs to go, that building just stovepipe, highly tightly integrated systems the way that we have ever since I started in the business really isn't feasible going forward, that we need a different way to architect our facilities so that we can meet changing demands. And so in a nutshell, what the idea behind FIMS is that we have a system of some sort that's controlling your facility, and then that system makes use of services that perform functions on media, services like maybe a transcode or some sort of transform or a move or maybe a repository service, something like that. And those are offered up as individual reusable components as part of a larger system.
This sounds very different from pushing carts loaded with tapes around a building.
Yes, it is. And of course, you know, part of the change from pushing carts of tapes around is that you go to moving files and servers. But files really only get you part of the way there. In addition to the files, you really need a new way of thinking about overarching systems that are being used in media production.
Now, this sounds like a big change for a broadcaster. Is it going to be expensive? Is it like putting all your eggs in one basket?
I think so. Let's tackle the first part first. Yes, it is a change. It is a change in philosophy at a pretty deep level about how we build facilities. But it's changed for a good reason. The way that we used to build facilities, when I was at Turner in Atlanta in the entertainment division, we would build a special purpose network facility to feed, let's say, the TBS network, and another system to build to serve TNT, and another to serve Cartoon Network. And that kind of stovepipe, beginning to end kind of construction just isn't adaptable enough. And it's also way too expensive, kind of an overall strategy to use when you may build one of these massive systems to serve some new phone or some new mobile application or whatever today, and that thing may be gone tomorrow. We're really in a different world. So
it's a lot of it's being driven by the issues around multi-platform delivery.
Frankly, media companies at the end want to get the content onto whatever device, wherever consumers want to use it, to view it. And so this change that's represented by FIMS in terms of the architecture really is a direct response to that. And the change is not just change for change's sake. It really is driven by the business requirements of users who are saying we can't afford to spend millions of dollars every time we want to stand up some new sort of delivery mechanism to get on some platform where we don't know whether we're going to make $1 of revenue off that stream or not anymore.
Now, if I were a broadcaster and I was looking to invest in FIMS, can I go out there and buy a system right now, and is it being supported by manufacturers? Right.
So, and that you also asked an earlier question, which I'd like to get to too, which is it expensive? And these two are sort of tied into it together. There are early implementations of FIMS, and in fact, Bloomberg has done a full integration of FIMS. And then one thing I didn't mention is that FIMS is an effort to standardize the interfaces down into these reusable services. So what Bloomberg has done is where FIMS has written specifications for things like move, transcode, transfer, repository, they're using those standards. And then beyond that, they've used a FIMS approach to
so if you want to buy a new transcoder, you can go to a different vendor, but you haven't got to get a new interface designed. You can just plug in.
That is where we're headed with, that's absolutely the end game. And right now, some transcoder manufacturers have early adapters, we call them, which may adapt between a standard API that they've implemented in their box and the FIMS service interface above it. And I think where we're headed, generally speaking, with this is that over time, that interface will be built into products like transcoders and MAM systems and so on.
So that, in a way, that should bring prices down because you're not paying for all these custom interfaces.
Right, you're not paying for all this point integration. And part of the problem with the stovepipe facilities that have been built in the past is there was lots of very tight integration. And in the end, users paid for that. And it was manufacturer to manufacturer integration at the system level, at the software level. And instead, what we're working on is to have exactly what you said, more open interface points. And it's a win really for manufacturers. They have less investment in doing all of this point integration, and that should come across to users in terms of lower overall development costs because the manufacturers aren't spending all of that engineering time and effort on it.
Now I think the IBC have recognized the importance of the
They have
FIMS.
indeed. One thing we haven't touched on is that this is a joint task force between the AMWA and the European Broadcasting Union, and the IBC have awarded us jointly and Bloomberg as well for their initial implementation a judge's prize at IBC. And we're, of course, very pleased that the judges recognized the effort that went into this. One of the interesting things, David, about that award is we were awarded it not only for the technology and the idea of it, but getting it done in a timely fashion, which I thought was an interesting thing,
yes,
and I really appreciate the IBC recognizing
standards can sometimes take a very long time to come to fruition.
Sometimes we're trying to get over that.
Now, I guess Americans looking at FIMS may think because the EBU's involved, it's a European project. But I think the very fact that the first implementation is in New York shows that it is a global, it's equally applicable to global companies. It's not a European project.
That's true, and CBC have announced that they're doing a pilot in Montreal in Canada, and involves Montreal and Toronto. They've announced a pilot as well. It really is an international effort. Companies from all over the world have been deeply involved in this. And something else, users from all over the world have been involved in the business board, really driving the priority of the requirements for FIMS.
Now, because it's such a radical change in how you run your business, how can people find out more about it? Because it's not just like buying another camera or switcher.
That's true. You can go to the AMWA website, and we have quite a bit of information and some tutorials and other papers on FIMS there. There's an open wiki, which the URL is wiki.amwa.tv/EBU, and all of the meetings of the group this task force that's been working on it is there. It's all open information. And people will be welcome to contact the AMWA, I think, or the EBU for more information on it.
Right, thank you. Well, I think FIMS is obviously a very important project for the broadcasting industry, and so I do encourage you to go to the AMWA website to find out more about it. So that's, again, it's www.amwa.tv. Well, thank you very much for telling us about this, Brad, and thanks very much.
Thank you very much.